just trust the moment. And I don't mean just acting wise. I've been hitting at this. It's all happening to us and for us for a reason, And our best move is to receive it.
Welcome to Get Scene Unscripted. I'm your host, Jesse Malinowski. We are going to dive into acting insights, meet industry pros, and master the business. Don't forget to subscribe and share. We're keeping you behind the scenes and ahead of the game. Hey everyone, welcome to Get Scene Unscripted. So happy that you're here. If this is your first time, welcome. And if you're coming back, thanks so much for coming back. Those of you that are leaving reviews and comments, if you're watching on YouTube, thanks so much. I love seeing those and reading your comments and seeing how this podcast is affecting your journey in a positive way. Thank you so much. If you haven't left a review, this is your signal. All right, everybody, I'm excited to dive in with our guest, Jose Vasquez. What's up, Jose?
Hey, man, it is good to be here with you, man. This is cool.
Good to be here with you. Dude, you were on Talent Agent Talk first with Mr. Jason Lockhart.
Yeah, I got roped in first by Jason. And, then I remember you walking around here going, man, he got to you first. It's not fair. What happened there? Oh, that was cool. That was funny.
Yeah, so now you're here for the long show.
Yeah.
Now we got to hang out for a little bit.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah?
I'm a talker. Anybody that knows me, I enjoy talking. So that's a good thing.
Well, those of you that have been watching all the episodes know that we're in year 2 of the podcast, and with year 2, I wanted to bring some new stuff, and so I have some random kind of segments that I'm throwing in, and so the one that I'm going to start the show off with is, and the reason why you're getting this one, Jose, is because you definitely do not brag on yourself. You definitely are you got to be one of the most humble people I know, so I'm going to force you to tell me a booking brag right now.
Oh, Lord, okay. All right. It's funny. You kind of warned me you had something. I thought this was coming at the end. So there it is. You got me. All right, cool. So yes, I think this one might be a little easier because I've had so last week I got to work on Will Trent.
Oh, nice.
It was a long time coming. Obviously we wait to see what actually makes the cut, how that goes. It was a co-star, it was a day's work. It was a wonderful, wonderful time. And that's the part I want to emphasize is I remember feeling like, is it always this awesome on this set? One of my great buddies on the show, Kurt Yu, who plays Pete Shin, is on there. And I had a chance to meet up with him afterward. And I genuinely was like, is this how it always is? Is this how everyone usually treats each other? I mean, everyone from people doing, transport to catering, it's just so welcoming, such a loving and supportive space. It was easy to jive with these folks. I had the lead actress of the show. I played opposite of her for most of my time on set. I had a daughter for the day, a little 7-year-old daughter, and she was amazing. And she had been there for a day at least. I got to work with a dear friend of mine who's also played one of the characters. And I won't say much more because obviously I can't say much. But I got to be around people that I hadn't either known, I had only seen them on the show, or people that I had worked with like 5-6 years ago or whatever. So it was a day of reunion, a day of meeting new people, new faces, the crew, the director, a well-known director. He directed the Replacements back in the day with Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
Howie Deutsch, I think that's how you say his last name. And he was marvelous. He just treated me like I'd been there for like a month. It was really, really wonderful, beautiful. I felt at home. So, come at the end of the day and it was all said and done. I was sad, man. It was strange. I'm like, I've only been here not even 10 hours, 12 hours, whatever it's been. If I was just like, this was a really good group of people, and I'm going to miss every single one of them. And before I left, I stopped by the little catering truck, and this wonderful lady, she was just so giving. I said, well, I just want to say bye and thanks. And she's Latina, so she had all these snacks. Like, she's like, oh, here, take a couple of things for the road. Oh, and I walk out with a Ziploc bag. It's like a grocery bag, and it was filled with snacks and beef jerky. She gave me a coffee for the road because it was later. So she's like, take care. So again, it's just like family. I've been there for 10 hours. So that was a wonderful day.
That's
wonderful day.
awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Congrats, dude. You said a long time coming. Do you know how many auditions you had for Will Trent before you
Feels like 50. But no, it's probably not that many. It's got to be easy between 10 and 20 in there
Wow,
somewhere. Yeah. So Matt Suffolk he's called me in a few times,
Right.
and I've given him all kinds of different takes on these characters. So finally, I feel, and it really is. If it all stays, it'll be definitely something different that I don't usually get to
Really?
put out. Yeah,
That's
it's
awesome.
more me, which is interesting. We'll leave it at that, and maybe you and I can.
Yeah, you're right.
We can have a little
Go
conversation.
Watch it. Make sure to watch it. Yeah.
So hopefully it all lands, and then we can see it all.
That's awesome, man. Well, congrats, dude. So
Thank you.
happy for you. Keep the bookings coming.
Thank you.
I want to go back in time a little bit because you filmed The Liberator that was on Netflix. It filmed in Poland. You're a series regular on this. Do you have like a really cool, memorable story? I mean, I'm sure there's so many.
Yeah.
But which one really sticks out to you? I know you talked about this on Talent Agent Talk too, but I mean, just so much that you had to go through for this. I remember you talking about, balancing it with your wife Jenny and with the kids, and you kind of felt like you almost described it as like she knew it was maybe coming. You know what I mean? And you deserve it so much. But do you have like a cool, fun story of filming in Poland? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, Poland was it was interesting because getting there was so bizarre. Just the first night, I'd never been to Europe. First time in Europe, and
wow.
I arrived like late at night, and I'm thinking I don't know anybody here. So, anyway, that whole thing was a little story in and of itself. I got picked up by this gentleman, barely spoke any English, and all I knew is that he was holding my last name. And so I was like, all right, this must be the guy I'm supposed to go with. But then I started thinking, there's so many people with my last name.
You thought you got in the wrong.
What if I got in the wrong van and I'm going to the wrong? I was so scared, man. I was so scared. So obviously very grateful that I landed where I was supposed to. I met up with the people that were there, but it was, that kind of kicked off a whole sequence of events. And I mentioned this a little bit at Talent Talk, where I opened up my shin and I was terrified I was going to get fired and all this. And so, if you haven't heard that story, I could divulge a little more, but I really want to kind of punch in today since you brought it up. It kind of like what happened on Will Trent, where eventually, you're there with these folks I was there for almost 2.5 months. And you do establish a sense of like family, a sense of connection and bond. And it was special. You get to work on a World War II show, which was a big dream of mine. It was a big dream come true. However, when you're a series regular, I guess, you're kind of looked at as one of the leaders on set. You set the tone, and I learned that fairly quickly, because of what happened with my shin and the way that I responded to their kindness. I feel like that really set a precedence of just like joy and fun, because we all laughed about it, and that was the very first week before we started filming. And I think that just set a tone where everybody knew that I was gonna just be me, even if it was clumsy old me. And you start pouring out into people, and that becomes a pattern. You're there, you say hello, you're cordial, you connect. And I wanted to make sure that people understood that I saw what they were doing. Every person, every person on set. So when it came time for me to film some of my toughest scenes, I found myself like having to retreat. I felt like I needed to all right, I gotta get ready for this. But it was
going by yourself.
Yeah, like going somewhere, standing on the side of the soundstage, kind of like a little bit away from people, which was difficult for me to do because people kind of kept wanting to come over and say hi and like chit chat and this and that. But I think something about my demeanor started to tell them, all right, he's getting in the zone. And I had this thing where whenever I was about to go on, I'd do a couple push-ups to get back up and then go into and remember, this is a sound stage. It's all blue. It's like Blue World, and we call it the Blue Fish Bowl because we were filming indoors. This is Trioscope. It's just the way that it was filmed. And so I'm in my little corner finally getting ready for this bigger scene. And I did my push-ups, and I realized, all right, good. People kind of got the message. Some people moved away from the area. They got up from this little seating area, and they walked away. And I was sitting there kind of doing some breathing and all this. And then I turned my back to the main soundstage area, and then somebody tapped my shoulder, and it was the first AD. And he looked at me and he goes, hey, man, you want to pray? And I was like, yeah, that would be amazing. And I mean, this is this guy kept the clock going. He kept everybody, he was super Mr. Busy and all this, and keeping the atmosphere super positive, and he was amazing and all this, but he was so rapid fire, it shocked me. It grounded me and made me very present. And it was exactly what I needed. I mean, I turned around, got on, and we filmed this stuff, and I mean, we as a unit, we slayed it. It was great work. So that's probably the most impactful moment. It was kind of I call it a God wink. Like, it was, the creator's way of saying, I see what you're doing, and I'm here with you, although you may not acknowledge me right away. Because sometimes, I was still, back then, I was still going through a lot of like imposter syndrome. Like, I got to make sure I keep proving that I belong here. And so this was still kind of like halfway through. And so that was a really, really special, divine kind of moment. It was super small, but it was just a good way to feel like a greater hand was on my shoulder saying, I got you. You'll be fine. You're here because it's supposed to be you. And I really needed that more than I realized,
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you think, like, what that for and based on how you're describing it, I like the God wink. I think that's cool. Is there a way that you think we can also kind of be that impactful for people on set? Or do you think it's coming from something else, so we need to step out of the way?
Well, fast forward about a week and a half, because that might have been like middle of the week when we were filming this. So it was on a Sunday where everybody's off, and I'm on my way back from church, and I run into the same first AD who's on his way to church. He was going to a later service. So I love this question. I think it's paying attention. I think he was just paying attention. I think any good first AD pays very good attention to what's happening on set, right? And to his actors and to the whole moving machine. But he was paying attention from that scope of, and I had been engaging with him and everyone already, so everyone had a real good feel about who I am, what it was about. It was very clear that I was very grateful to be there. That wasn't no shock to anyone. And I think he was just paying attention to the fact that I was having a moment and probably needed someone to just stand there with me. And he was a brother in that moment. He was an older brother. And I think it's because you paid attention. So to answer your question, if I could stay in tune with something greater than myself on a consistent basis, our senses get heightened. And we kind of develop a sixth sense when someone is needing a little bit more than just like, hey, how are you? It's more like, hey, I'm here for you. I see you, right? And when you want to talk about something, and that, I think that's what he did for me that day. So yeah, obviously, in turn, if I can do that for someone else, then I think that's what it's about.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. Speaking of your faith, how have you felt like that's guided you through so far your career within the film and TV industry? Do you think it's I don't want to say like been a hurdle, but I don't know. For some reason that's coming to mind right now. I'm not sure if it feels like it's been tougher at times, or it's just served you all the way through, or how has that kind of helped?
It is fascinating you bring up the word hurdle for two reasons. One, watching the Olympics this past summer, there's a runner, Sydney McLaughlin, and she has another last name. I think it's probably her husband's last name. Anyway, she is, people watching this, you probably already know who this is. She's amazing. And watching her on the hurdles, that's how I wish I would have been with my whole faith journey as an actor. Acting came back to me after I gave it up because I was becoming a dad. I was super young, and I thought it would be dishonorable to pursue something so selfish. I didn't understand what acting really was. And so because I didn't understand that, I didn't understand its overall value in life, I saw it as not just a hurdle, Jesse. I started to see it as a weight, as this selfish thing that I needed to do for myself because I needed to validate who I was. And for a long time, I was chasing that. I chased this validation by some other means of something out here to tell me, yeah, you are good. And I think that was really the biggest misstep. Although I constantly believed I had this divine intervention, this great guardian, this great love leading me forth. There was a resistance. I resisted it. And even when I got the dream back and it was handed back to me and I got to do this to pay the bills and provide roof over our heads for my family and I. There was still a resistance because I still didn't believe that I was good enough. That I was I really being selfish? So there was always a wrestling. You know, yesterday, out of the blue, I was actually moving this Bible that we have at home that a friend of ours gave to us. He's actually in the New Zealand Air Force, and he gave this really cool Bible, and I just happened to open it to the verse in Genesis where Jacob wrestles with God, and it's this wrestling match all night, wrestling with God, and he like hurts his hip on it, and that was me for so long, just wrestling, denying this like love and this validation that I was getting, this consistent from the divine. So it was a hurdle. And it wasn't until I, you know, and I said this in Talent Talk with Jason, that it was after Poland that I realized I got to take this weight off. I'm 100% putting, it's almost like you're supposed to jump over the hurdles, but I was like trying to pick them up and run with them, like trying to get to the finish line with all this weight because it was the only way I can validate myself. And, you know, eventually I had to get myself out of the equation and just let God be who he is, you know, a good father, teaching me, guiding me, stepping in, tapping on my shoulder, praying with me when I'm in the middle of a thing, or especially when there's nothing going on, there's no work, and in the silence, you know, during pandemics and such, constantly there, you know, and that's been the biggest thing. And I have to say my family were conduits, primarily Jenny, to that grace. I kept that wrestling match until it was like, you know, this another hand, albeit my wife's hand, that kind of like calm and like disarm me and like stop fighting so much, man. Just stop resisting. Receive the love, receive the grace. It's upon you. Like, why are you? So anyway, that eventually became something I can. And the reason I bring up that race, the reason I bring up the race in the Olympics is because eventually now I'm in a place in my life where there's hurdles, absolutely, but there are things that life just kind of puts there. You just have to find a way to jump them. And that race with Sydney in the Olympics, I saw myself in her.
Really? And
being able to match my faith, finally receive that love so that I can now jump the hurdles and win. Every day is a different kind of, the win looks differently. It's not always a booking. That's the obvious win, but it's more than that. It's more than that.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's beautiful. Is there, you mentioned like not feeling good enough. Do you still feel that way at times? And if not, what got you to where you are now to not necessarily feel that way?
You know, I don't feel that way anymore. I have less days where I feel not good enough, where I feel like, man, maybe I'm just...
But it's not the bookings that did it. I already know that. I
correct.
just want to like quickly tell everyone that, right?
Yeah, exactly. You know, it comes to a place of... Because before the Will Trent thing came about, I've just been in a space where I realized that everything I've lived up to this point has tremendous value for someone, for their life. You know, I've suffered enough. I've because of my sufferings, I've caused other people to have missteps. And, you know, you as a dad, especially, you make all kinds of mistakes. As a young husband, you can make all kinds of mistakes, and you learn and you learn. And so, and then life as a professional actor, an artist, all of that comes with all these great lessons. And, you know, there are days where I have to think of like, well, my 100 missteps will hopefully equal someone not having to go through them. And so that definitely helps. It helps understand that everything I am right now in this moment is more than enough, because it'll be another milliseconds before I realize someone needs me to do whatever. Even if it's something as simple as like, just go walk the dog, right? And usually just walking the dog, you run into someone that says hi and needs to say more than hi. It becomes a conversation all of a sudden. So it's constantly being aware. I've become aware that exactly where I am as I am is exactly who I'm supposed to be, so that I can do this thing, which is serve. Just serve, man. Just show up and serve. And so that's where I'm at. I think if I focus on that, I don't spend so much time up here wondering, doubting, oh, am I enough? Am I doing enough? You know, am I winning enough? And a lot of that is just noise that comes from something else, some other
100%.
frequency of some sort, you know, that doesn't make any productive sense.
Such a negative voice in our head that for
Yeah.
some reason we all have.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And having the ability to control it a bit
Oh yeah.
is so important.
Mm-hmm. Tell it to shush.
Shush,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
Yep.
You have some really cool bookings. I mean, you've been a recurring on Walking Dead, Cobra Kai, Candy. Is there, whether it be one of those, but maybe a different booking, but a really cool lesson from, I'll say specifically like the audition to the booking, that, and maybe it's one of those, or maybe it's something else that you could share?
Sure. Oh man, those three are all great examples. I would say, I think Cobra Kai is one that a lot of people talk about, especially at my church, because it's a kids show too. So
Right.
a lot of the kids, because I'm with the youth ministry, some of the kids.
You're the famous actor.
Ah man, they introduced me like, oh, he's the guy, he's the principal on. So that's always fun. That's fun.
Yeah.
So that's funny because the whole of that show lived for so long and nobody knew about it because it was on was it YouTube
It was
Premium?
YouTube Red.
YouTube Red. That's where
Yeah.
it started. Then it became YouTube Premium. Yeah. So YouTube Red, nobody was watching it. I did the audition. I think at the time Baja was doing it. I believe. Yeah. And I remember I went in and read in for the callback. And it was like, cool. We'll see what happens. I got it. You go in, and I had a chance to.
Were you a Karate Kid fan?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, okay,
yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I was like, this is a cool show. I actually liked the writing, and it was fun, and you don't think much of it. But it probably has to do more with Paul Hauser and who he was on set. My scene was with him, and I'm interviewing him in the school, and he's applying to be the security guard. It was hilarious, right? But this guy, he is intelligent beyond belief, man. I mean, he can rap on spot, like he can freestyle, super intelligent. And he plays these characters that it seems so kind of like aloof and kind of like shocked with life. Not like that at all in real life, man. He was in tune, connected. They let him riff every now and then, and he was just like super funny. So I just observing that whole experience with him and seeing how he handled being on set. I just sat there learning. And one of the biggest lessons I had to learn was, don't you dare laugh.
Yeah.
You cannot break right now. So the whole of that journey, right? And then it just gets shelved and it kind of lives somewhere where not many people know. And then I don't know how many years later it ends up on Netflix and all this. And now Paul's massive. Like he's a big star now. He's just doing great. And I'm really happy for him.
Netflix effect. It's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. If you're an actor wanting to improve your auditions, I have great news because our Improve Your Audition Bootcamp is coming up. This is one of my favorite challenges that we do, or boot camps that we put together of the entire year, because it focuses on what our job is as actors, which is improve your audition. So if you're wanting specific strategies to make your audition stand out, to know what to do to kind of have those self-tape hacks to make self-taping more fun, easier, and make your auditions more engaging, then you're going to want to show up to this boot camp. It's an incredible deal because it's 2 weeks long, only $37. And don't let me forget to tell you that we also bring in some of the top casting directors of the Southeast to help teach this and go over it. So we're going to be working on different things every single class, and then actors will be selected at random to do either a live Zoom or self-tape. Everyone will get the homework so we all can implement these different strategies and tactics so you are learning and growing in this boot camp to actually improve your audition. And then who knows, maybe you even get selected to help us run that class with that big casting director. So I hope to see you there. Again, it's only $37, but by the way, if you look in the description, there might be a promo code there. So use that promo code now, grab your spot, and I can't wait to see you at our Improve Your Audition Bootcamp.
So, Candy was different. Being on that show, it was still good. Obviously, it's work, but it came at a time where we were in pandemic time. So I showed up on set, mask all the time, and it was kind of a lonely experience. Very limited reach with your castmates, and So any little conversation we'd have, because we were daring to put our mask down, that person was still walking around set telling us, get your mask on, get your. So it was difficult. It felt like back in school where you can't talk to your friends because teacher's gonna put your name on the board or something, right? It was that kind of sentiment. But I mean, everything from the audition, it was so wild because, and I got to play a guy named Lester, and that's just not a common thing for someone that looks the way I do to be called Lester. And it was great because Jason, he when he saw the tapes, he said,
You know what's so funny about that too is like like the average actor is gonna get that audition and be like, Lester, I'm not a Lester. Why did I even get this, right? But it's like such a great example of like good audition, good work.
Absolutely,
and you can be Lester.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I grew up being Jose, and growing up in South Florida, we had Jose 1, Jose 2, all the way to Jose 4. So if I get to play Lester, I'm going. Let's go. So it was fun. In terms of the audition, just kind of embodying that. And the first round of auditions, I auditioned for the character of Richard, I think was the name of the other character. It doesn't matter. When I did the other tape for Lester, I remember Jason, the agent, said, "Man, look, the way you just did that, it was just. If you don't get this, I can't wait to see who gets this." So I was like, thank you, because we don't usually get feedback from our people because they're doing their thing and they're busy. So it was wonderful to hear that. And then, I started getting texts like, hey, Mark Fincannon's asking about your dates and are you available with this? And I was like, oh, well, we're getting close. So then that obviously is a great euphoric feeling. But to see where the industry was at that time, there's kind of a melancholic sadness that goes back to that when I was being there and just.
What's so cool about that, though, is it puts it in perspective, doesn't it? Right? Like, because, I think, I just find like people can complain about so many things and it's like so easy to find the negative in things, right? And then when you have an experience like that and it does sound sad of like, it was a lonely experience, and not being able to, but it brings so much more gratitude to the small things of being able to like, chat with the PA for a couple minutes at your trailer or go on set and like just hang out in the back of Video Village or just talking to your co-stars or whatever. It's like I think can so quickly forget the gratefulness of those moments until kind of like you're describing like missing out on it.
Yeah, I think that's the proper perspective shift too that needs to happen. That we got to a place where we were treasuring every little conversation, like to and from the trailers, because we can kind of get away with a little bit more chit chat as you're walking. In one of those, I had a wonderful surprise because I ran into the guy playing the reporter. It was Aaron Smalls.
Oh, that's Smalls.
I was so thrilled. I was like, wow, dude, what are you doing? And obviously forget the mask and forget the dude. Like I'm hugging him. And I was just so thrilled to see Aaron there. And we got a picture together. It was
wow. Shout out Smalls. We miss you, buddy.
I love you, man. I love you. He's one of those guys that was like nudging me when I was still in Orlando. Like, hey man, you got to come up to Atlanta. You went and him and all these guys. So anyway, it was great to see him like that. But again, you go back to, it was like a vacuum. Literally, there was like a sucking out of that kind of joy because you got to stay safe and all that. So, but now looking back on it makes this way of life easier to appreciate and just sit in a place of gratitude because you just have to like close your eyes and just remember what that was. I remember the safety meetings that we would have on set of Candy where the actors were very much a part of it. Although you weren't crew, the topic of like health and all this, it created this weight. Like you just got here. Maybe you just had your coffee and you said good morning to a few people, right? But now you're hearing it, like no messing around. If you're not feeling good, you gotta. So all that, I remember all that. I intentionally try to remember that because, as you were saying earlier, there's really not a lot to be complaining about today. We got to really focus on what can we be grateful for, and that's where I try to live these days as much as I can.
Absolutely, I love that. You not only are guiding your own film and TV career, but like all of your kids have also decided to do it.
Oh man,
how is that? Like, how long have they been doing it now?
Oh my goodness, that is a great question. So Matthew he's 21 as of today. He started when he was like 4.
God,
I think, I mean, so a lot longer than I've been doing it. So I'll tell you that. Yeah.
How has that been guiding them at the same time of guiding yourself? while also like wanting, you know, and we kind of do this within the mentorship. So that's why I thought you'd be so great too. But like also like empowering them to be their own artist and,
Yeah.
you know, and you have maybe more experience and know what you're doing, but like let them kind of do their thing. How has that kind of that juggling spree been for you?
That is the right word, juggling. I feel like I could join Cirque du Soleil right now.
Yeah.
With the juggling act I've got going on. I'm sure I'm at like 20 different items in one routine here. It feels that way, but no, they carry their own weight these days, which is very helpful, very helpful. But when they were younger, it was a lot harder. You know, we talk about Poland, and at the time, only Matthew was really kind of considering it, and he was kind of having this tug of war between lacrosse, which he was getting really good at, or acting, and so I had to help him navigate that. That was a big decision. Like, do I focus on sports and kind of fit into the conventional here in this kind of suburbia world? Or do I, you know, and I bring it back to prayer, man, because you get to a point with a teenager, you just don't know what to say anymore. And he had an experience where he got on a job that George Pierre put him on. This is before he got to work on BMF. And probably shouldn't talk too much in case you ever have him here. I don't want to steal his thunder. But as I'm saying, sorry, the cappuccino's taking effect on my speech. So anyway, he got on this show. He was probably like going into his freshman year of high school, and he actually got excited, like, cool, I'm gonna get to be on camera and have these lines, and he got the whole experience got prolonged, and scenes got moved, and by the end of the day, the whole thing got cut. He got sent home without doing a thing.
Yeah, it happens.
And I had to witness my boy get home and weep like a toddler.
Really?
And he had this moment of revelation. Like, this is what I want to do.
In the
pain of it.
In the pain of it.
In the pain of it.
Wow.
And I was so moved by this.
Wow.
So moved by his capacity. I'm gonna get emotional now. Because I remember the way he looked at me like, Dad, this is what I want to do. They told me I couldn't, and it broke my heart. And I don't ever want to experience that again. I want to be able to go full. So anyway, he made a big decision. It was a big man decision, and he was barely, high school kid. And he decided, I'm going to focus on acting, which came with its price because, it takes a toll on a kid. And when Jenny leads this. She's the hero of all of this parenting stuff. I kind of follow her lead when it comes to patience and resilience and teaching them balance. And what are you really pursuing? Why are you really doing this career? Yeah, it's got to be fun. You got to be able to deal with the rejection part of it. So all of this, these are topics that go on. And Matthew was always the one that he always had a clarity of what he was aiming for, his career, and now he's acting, but also looking to produce and write and all. The younger ones, they kind of were following his steps, and they're finding their footing now. They're also young adults, figuring out what their next moves are, because now their next moves have been well equipped. Because with what we do, you can take a lot of these skills and apply them to wherever you go. Interview style, confidence and stature, posture, all that stuff. There's so many things that transfer over into the corporate world, if that's what my kids end up doing, or they just start their own business. And where they go after this, I don't know. They're still auditioning, and some of these shows they audition for could change their lives, so to speak. But some are just everyday stuff, co-star stuff, and they're in it. But we literally have conversations every single day, Jesse. There's not a day that goes by that we don't have very deep, profound, inspiring conversations about what we do and why we do it. That's the big one. Why in the world are they in this? And I tell them, there's no obligation. The moment you're done with this, you're fed up, that's okay. Like,
right.
Find the thing that gets you excited about life and do that,
You know what I love so much about it's like such a good example of the story with Matthew and how it it didn't work out, but it's so interesting because right before that part of the story, he was at such a crossroads with lacrosse and acting, and it's a good example of those negative things that sometimes happen to us, right? They're not happening to us, they're happening for us, as long as we can see it.
Right.
And it's was at such a crossroads. I'm like, what do I do? Get this booking. Actually, it goes terrible, but what that does is solidify that this is what I want to be doing. I think that's so incredible.
Yeah.
That's so great.
Oh yeah.
And but it doesn't take away the fact that he got that booking. he worked hard to get it. He stayed determined and patient to get it. I
Mhm.
mean, so many things to get there, and you know, it happening once proves that it can happen again
Yeah.
and again and again.
Yep. Yeah. And then you fast forward, I don't know how many years, and then George brings him in again, and he gets on BMF, and so and now he's in a place where he's training right now, continuing to train, study, and create, and it doesn't end. Like there's people now asking him, like, "Hey, man, what are you doing? Where can I start?" And so it's just beautiful, man. You got to pay it forward with everything that we learn. And our household is, like I said earlier, the conversation. Just yesterday, we watched this really inspiring video. And if we have time, we can dive into it a little more. But just a really inspiring video of this music artist that we love. And that got us talking, got us opening up again. You know, and Jenny gets into the conversation because she's an artist herself and she's doing what she has to do right now to keep all of us, all the whole family just going and moving, but she also gets inspired like, all right, what else can I do with my artistry? And so it's the way to live, man. I don't know any other way of living right now.
I love that. I think it's so important, and I love that your whole family has this. I think it's so important. You know, I guess I mean I think for everyone, but I mean artists, I guess specifically to make sure that you are creating, you are doing the that art of creation. I guess is really just what it comes down to, whether it be music or painting or acting or whatever it is, writing. And so I love that you guys do that and as a family and connect over that. I think that's really special.
Yeah. Yeah. It's my favorite thing.
I bet.
Yeah, it absolutely is my favorite thing. We have this YouTube channel that we just spend time on together as a family, and I love it, man. I could do that all day. I'm pretty sure they feel the same way to some degree, but I'm sure they're like, yeah, Dad, we love doing that, but there's other things we love to do too.
Right.
And that's cool. But that's different. I mean, that's a story for another day.
Yeah. So also being one of our Get Scene mentors, is there a thing like a piece of advice that you think comes up frequently, a common denominator that that you know all the mentees seem to maybe need that you could share to help everyone?
Well, I need it too, and it's just it's powerful that I hear it come out of my mouth because I know it's not the source is not me, but it's this concept of what is right now, like to surrender to it with trust. Like, what if you just surrender to what is happening in your specific moment in your career, your life? What if we surrender to it with trust? Meaning, I know this is meant for good, for my own good. Although it may suck. You know, look what happened to Matthew, right? That's just one super, super small example. And there's so many instances where I've had conversations with my mentees recently where they're going through something hard, right? And not always necessarily dealing with acting stuff. It's sometimes just life, and helping them navigate through that, and then having them experience the moment where I'm also realizing with them, this is God talking to both of us right now, because I need to hear also that what I'm going through is equipping me for something else. Jesse, I mean, I just lived it. Leading up to the work on Will Trent, like what I was able to bring to that set for that specific day, it was all the buildup of these last like 2.5 years of serving, being improving in all fronts of my life, and then being able to mentor and coach other people. And suddenly I'm on a set. It's a very different experience because I'm in a place now where every moment is truly precious, and I'm trusting not just that every moment, but I'm trusting myself more now. I'm trusting that I'm able to receive what's happening all around me, and it's almost. And I know I was joking about juggling earlier, but I don't know if you've ever read the book The Alchemist, but it's kind of like Neo in the Matrix. That's probably what most people will know, and a lot of people have read The Alchemist. You suddenly become able to affect the universe, your immediate universe, right? And that's essentially what I keep having to tell my mentees, and I keep hearing myself listening to God. It's like, I've given you what you need to be affected and then to affect and create this beautiful equilibrium where people start to just create, collaborate, and things happen. Beautiful things happen. People mutually enter a flow state of creativity, and that's the high, man. That's the high.
Yeah. It is so it's so great being able to positively affect the people around us. I mean that before we kind of got started, we were talking about like filling our own cups,
Yeah.
and for me, I mean, that's like one of the things that I just like love so much is like being able to serve. I know that you're a man of service, is like just being able to serve and affect people in a positive way. Like I feel like that just like fills me up so much.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm always trying to figure out, different things like within the studio and in my life. It's like, what can I do to affect the people around me in a positive way, an impactful way?
For sure. That's it, man. That's what it's about. And I candidly told you, I was very honest about how I've learned recently. Well, first of all, I want to thank you, man, for, I don't know, I think I've told you this a few times, but especially looking back on the timing of things. And we just had a little moment here with timing that we're like, oh, that was kind of divine. And so same thing, I remember the day you called me for me to consider like really diving into this coaching mentoring thing. It was just, it again, it was the next page that needed to turn for me to really turn my own corner and understanding what this is really all about. And the timing of that is just, again, it's divine. It's, people would say, oh, it's a coincidence. No, I call them, and like a lot of people say, it's a God incidence. It was a moment of like, you had to respond.
Yeah.
I could have told you no, and it would have affected everything. So I'm so grateful that you called me, that Candy had the thought, like, let's call Jose. And you're like, yeah, let's call him.
Oh my gosh. I
And
know.
it worked out.
Shout out to Candy for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, Jose and I go back, I don't know how long we go back, all the way back to Florida.
Yeah.
And yeah, I remember when Candy brought it up, I was like, oh my God, of course, Jose will be fantastic. But I'm grateful for you. I know all the actors that you work with are also grateful. And
I'm grateful for that, man, because they affect me. I would say it's a very mutual experience because they share their experience, they share their struggles, their wins, and I'm learning right along with them. Big lessons too, man. Really, really big lessons. So beyond grateful. It's hard to put the words as to how thankful I am for all of it. Yeah.
That's awesome, dude. Well, we appreciate you. Well, I think this brings us to our spotlight sign off. And interesting, as we're wrapping up this conversation talking about gratefulness, the first question of the spotlight sign off is, what's something you're incredibly grateful for today?
Oh, good. Today, this moment, honestly, man, this just because, and I'm at the risk of getting a little metaphysical here, I wanted to share this. So there's a book that has really affected me, and this is why I could say this moment is the most precious, because it's a bit of a coupling. So there's a book called The Abandonment to Divine Providence, where in it, the sacrament of the moment is talked about. And this was written by a priest in like the 1600s. And when I read this book, and I'm like, this ancient dude is talking about like acting language, like making each moment a sacrament, sacred, like, and then the concept of just, if we could lean into the trusting of, first of all, just trusting that the way this is happening right now, the cappuccino and all of this is exactly as it's meant to be, and we could sit in that reality. It's wonderful. It's beautiful. So I'm grateful for this. I mean, we're in AC. You got a beautiful setup here. I get to work with you and talk to you, and this is awesome. This is a day where it's not hard to be like, thank you. I'm so grateful for this moment. It's not always like that.
Yeah.
It's not always like that. There are days where I'm home, still in my PJs, like trying to fix up my studio, figuring out, man, what am I going to do next? How do I organize this? And I'm stressed. But even still, I sit, I breathe in the moment, and I realize, all right, I'm supposed to be going through this right now. I told you about a loss we just had in my church. We lost a teen, and like, how do you even make sense of that? How do you even make sense of losing a kid, right? You can't. I don't think we're supposed to right away. All I know I could do is sit in it, receive it, live it, feel the pain, feel the agony of it. But then it's like, all right, I'm still giving another breath. I'm still here. So I gotta go and do something about this. And what is that thing? Love more. Just show up and love more, bro. That's it. So that's what I'm here doing with you, sharing a cappuccino, a great conversation. And I love it, man. I love it
too. I love it too. Beautifully put. So the second question for the spotlight sign off would be, what is a film, TV show, or book that changed the trajectory of your life? You already shared a book. So.
Yeah. So I might have talked about this with Jason on town, but it's the winner every time. You know, I used to work at Movie Co. back in South Florida when I was in high school. Movie Co. Theaters, Movie Co. 24. It's now Cinemark. It had this amazing like Egyptian setup. It looked like a Egyptian temple. It was massive. It was
So cool.
super cool.
Yeah.
And
It
I don't
makes
know.
so much sense to go into the pyramids and see a movie.
It complete sense. It was so epic, man. They had these great premieres. They had all these artifacts all along the walls,
Wow.
and it was like every time I walk in, it was a big premiere. Whether it was Pearl Harbor or Saving Private Ryan, you name it. The Mummy was nuts.
Of course.
They went all out with the Mummy.
Yeah.
You know, and so it wasn't on one of these massive days that I walked in and I was just walking back to go change to put my shirt on because I got there a little early and I was like, all right, let me just. But I was turning the corner, and the poster of Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring was there, and I was like, I know this. Why do I know this? Oh, I know now. Today, at that moment, I was remembering this cartoon that I had seen, this animated version of The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings that they did in the 70s or whatever. Anyway, Jesse, fast forward the end. I'm watching the end of the movie, and it's all of these names are just going up on the screen, the credits. And it's not just the actors. I'm not just talking about the acting part of it. It just wouldn't end.
No.
The list of people would not end. And I had to couple the reality of what I just experienced on a cinematic level, on an emotional level, on a spiritual level. And then I realized this took so many people. We live in a world where people kill each other, people are destroying each other, people can't, like, there's people at homes that can't get along. But for some crazy reason, everybody came together. All of these thousands of people came together to make this thing. And I remember I was right between high school and college. I remember feeling, this is what I want to do. I want to be in a place where people have no choice but to put all of their little nuanced things in life, and they have to work together. Mm-hmm. They got to get this thing done.
So cool.
And that changed everything. Like it planted a seed in me that, well, I'm still here living the fruits of it. So.
Hey, are you a parent of a young actor? Then you're going to want to pay attention to this because Get Scene Studios has what we call our Rising Star program. This program is incredible. It is a monthly program that puts you in front of an industry pro every single month and focuses on what a young actor needs to be focusing on, which is auditions. So every single month, we focus on either theatrical auditions or commercial auditions so they can be set up for success when they get an agent, or if they already have an agent, to really succeed at these auditions and even begin to make money at this. So we bring in different industry pros every single month and agents and casting directors, and then work on those auditions. So if this sounds like something that you would like to get your child or a friend that has a child involved in, all you need to do is email risingstar@getscenestudios.com, and we will let you try your first month for just $1 a class. That's right, only $1 a class. All you got to do is email us, and we will get you all set up and ready to go to improve those auditions and then also get in front of those industry pros, because we are Get Scene. Thanks for watching. Wow. Yeah. The list does go on forever in the credits.
Yeah. So many people. Yeah.
What's something within your daily routine that you really cherish?
My morning routine, getting myself activated, aligning mind, body, heart, and soul with prayer. I bookend it with prayer, but there's a very physical kind of exercise. It takes about 10 minutes, and it's I kind of get my whole body aligned with my mind, my heart, my spirit. I do my petitions for all of my people, my family, of course. My mentees are now part of my prayer, and they know this. I've told this to them. So that's my daily. My weekly, though, and I have to couple it with this, I go to Blessed Adoration every week. And I talked a little bit about this when we did the faith and TV conversation with Charlene.
Yeah, at the summit.
Yeah, it's it's a very tangible way to plug in into the source. So I go to the Blessed Chapel and I just kind of sit in pure silence for an hour, just silence, and I'll read or I'll write or I'll just sit there. So, but the daily is definitely that, the 10-minute, kind of just really intentional aligning.
Or it just happens. To be 10 minutes?
I put I used to put a timer, but it would interrupt what I was doing. So sometimes it goes 10, 15 minutes. If I know I have to be done in 10 minutes, I can't afford to go another, then I'll put a timer, because
Got it. Yeah.
I rarely just stick to 10 minutes. I leans more toward 15. If I get close to 20, I start getting texts from Jenny and the kids. Hey, you okay? You coming up? We want to eat breakfast. And, so it's but that's primary. I gotta have that.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. What's something you're currently trying to improve in your life right now?
My evening routine.
All right.
Yeah.
Interesting. The thing that you cherish is the morning routine, but we got to improve the evening routine.
Yeah.
Okay.
The evening routine is still a little difficult, and it's primarily because it's sometimes the days go long, and then I start catching up with my kids a little too late. So by that time, Jenny's sleepy. And so she starts to kind of go in and out of conversation. And we're getting better on this, but we have the habit sometimes of turning the TV on way too late, and so, and then it's justifiable because we're watching like Slow Horses on Apple TV Plus. So it's like, it's a good show. And it doesn't matter that it's like 12:30 in the night. It's such good writing. And, but then I'm having really crazy dreams. And then I wake up super confused. And then I got to work it. I definitely have to add the 5 minutes to the 10 minutes so I can get myself ready. So that's what I mean. The evening routine needs to, ideally no screens at a certain time, and, no crazy coffee or anything like that. Just water, chill, good conversation, meditation, or talking to the kids. But starting that earlier so I could be in bed earlier would be magnificent. So work in progress.
All right.
Work in progress.
Yeah. Candy is really good at going to bed at like 9.
Amazing.
And I swear at like 8:30, like I have like this, it's called Beam hot chocolate. And so it's like, I don't know, it just helps like kind of turn my brain off a little bit.
Okay.
And so I'll either put that into like a smoothie. So it's like a nighttime chocolate smoothie, or the hot chocolate. But I swear at 8 o'clock, she's like, time for your drink. And I'm like, it's 8:30. What the heck? Why are we trying to go to sleep? It's light outside. She's like,
this time of year, that's why it's hard this time of year, but yeah.
Yeah. She's like, maybe have your drink now. And so sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But maybe, you just need to have an alarm that tells you to have your sleepy time drink.
Yeah. I need to find, that's the thing. So we do a tea to close out we do like ginger tea with like ACV. But sometimes we're starting this tea at like 11 p.m.
Oh, no, too late. You missed it.
No. So this is what we got to work on.
Yeah,
we're working on it.
All right. Well,
that's good, though. You said Beam?
Yeah, Beam.
Okay.
BEAM. And they got like a lot of different flavors. They're good.
Cool.
That's good.
I'll check this out. Interesting. A bedtime chocolate. I like that.
Yeah, and it's like sugar-free, all that stuff. So it's good. All right. Well, last question. If you wanted to make sure all the listeners got one thing for sure, what would it be?
Just trust the moment. And I don't mean just acting wise. I've been hitting at this. It's all happening to us and for us for a reason, And our best move is to receive it, learn from it, absorb it. It becomes energy we can harness, turn out into a creative thing, or just a moment to moment where you can turn something very uncomfortable. We have, with that trust, the capacity to turn it into love outward. I would say that's probably hopefully the bigger takeaway from today for anyone, including myself, is no matter what's coming at you, if you could still stand, you can still move, you can still reason, then we have all capacity to turn it around and turn it into love, the kind of love that lifts somebody up, man. So take that.
Love it. Well, today you lifted me up, my friend.
Thank you, man.
Thank you, dude. You're awesome. Everyone, Jose Vasquez, thank you so much for being here, man. You are awesome.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you.
Everyone, if you enjoyed this episode, think about somebody in your life right now that could benefit from it, go ahead and send it their way. And please subscribe, leave us a review, comment, let us know how you're enjoying this, and we'll catch you on the next one.